All right, so here I see it's a cosine graph. And the way I remember where cosine starts is cone. Cosine starts at 1. It starts at the top point of our graph, and then it dips down to 0, then -1, unless, of course, there's a change in the amplitude, which there is here. So let's figure out our transformations. We have the 2 in front of the cosine, which means our amplitude is 2, which means instead of going up 1 and down 1 from the center, you're going to go up 2 and down 2 from the center. I see this 2/3 behind the cosine, but before the x. That's affected in our period. So the period, remember, is always 2 pi divided by your b, which is right after the cosine. So we're going to be doing 2 pi divided by 2/3. Now, remember, when you're dividing by a fraction, you're multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by 3/2. So if we kind of simplify our stuff, I see a 2 and a 2. So our period is 3 pi. So every 3 pi's, the cycle will repeat, and it'll look exactly the same. Now, if I were doing this and I wanted to break it up into steps, you can do like 3 pi divided by 4, since we're doing 4 steps there. 3 pi divided by 4. So every 3/4 of a pi is a step. Right? But we can even do this one without calculating the steps. And then there's one other transformation. When you have something in parentheses with the x, that is a horizontal shift. So if it says minus, we're actually going to shift it to the right that far. So we're going to go right pi over 4. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I know it repeats every 3 pi. So let's label this as like 1 pi. Kind of get the same amount of distance there. Try to keep it to scale as best as you can. There's about 2 pi, and there's about 3 pi, and sure, we could even put a 4 pi on there if we'd like. There's no vertical translation, so it's not shifting up or down, but I see that the graph has an amplitude of 2, so it can go 2 either direction. 1, 2, or it can dip down to -2. Now we're shifting 1/4 of a pi to the right. So we can, imagine this is in 4 sections between 0 and pi. So there's like 1/4 of that. Now if we did that to each section here, well, let's get our steps. We'll do our steps. So this is 1/4 of pi. We'll say pi over 4. And that'll be our first point on our graph. So it's shifted to the right 1/4 of a pi. And then cosine, remember, starts at the top of the graph. So our top of the graph will be 2, since our amplitude was 2. And then it's going to dip down to the center. But let's figure out how much further down it has. So if we did pi plus one more step, so our pi over 4 plus our step, which is 3 pi over 4, we get 4 pi over 4 for our next spot on the graph. And 4 pi over 4 is just pi. So our next spot on the graph will be right at pi. And then it's going to dip down to -2, but we're going to have to add 3/4 of a pi to that. So if we had pi plus 3/4 of a pi, that would be about here. Here's another 3/4. So we have 4 pi over 4 plus another 3 pi over 4, which will give us 7 pi over 4 for our label. 7 pi over 4. I'll write it above, just because my dot is going to be down here. Okay, so we've got the down curve of it. Now it's going to come back up. But where's our next point? Oh, we'll find out in the next video.